Hey friends, welcome to Tradition Café, the spot where the past bumps into the present and we get to sip our favorite drinks while digging into the stories that make people, well, people. I'm Anna Xavier, your host, curious and totally here for the fun of learning about people's lives. In each episode, we'll celebrate heritage, family, and community, whether it's immigrants, the generations that came after them, or chosen families that make life messy, interesting, and unforgettable. So if you're like me, inquisitive, a little nosy, and love a good story, pull up a chair, grab your cup, and thanks for listening. Hi friends, welcome back to Tradition Cafe. It's just me today, no guest, no interview, just my glass of wine and you. Thanks for joining. Halloween is right around the corner, so I thought we would do what we do best here at Tradition Cafe. We're going to slow down and trace a familiar tradition all the way back to where it began. This week we're talking about Halloween, where it really came from, what it once meant, and why it still stirs something deep in us. So long before Halloween had candy or costumes, there was Samhain. It is spelled Samhain, but don't pronounce it Samhain. It's a common mistake. It's actually pronounced Samhain. It was a Celtic festival marking the end of harvest and the beginning of winter. For the Celtic people of Ireland, Scotland, and parts of France, Samhain was a threshold time when the world of the living and the spirit world overlapped. It was a night to honor ancestors, give thanks, and prepare for the long, cold season ahead. Imagine it. The countryside gone quiet after the harvest. The air crisp. The smell of smoke from bonfires rising on the hills. Those fires weren't just for warmth. They were symbols of life and protection, a way to hold on to the light as winter closed in. People would carry home embers from the sacred fire to relight their own hearths, a blessing for the dark months ahead. They believed that on this night, the veil between the worlds thinned. Spirits of loved ones might visit, and families left food and drink to welcome them. Not all spirits were kind, though, so people wore disguises. Animal skins, masks, veils, and that was to confuse the wandering ghosts. Samhain was also a time for divination and magic, fortune-telling with apples, nuts, or even fire patterns. Apples were sacred symbols of love and the other world, which is where bobbing for apples came from. And those carved turnips, protection from spirits. Eventually replaced by pumpkins in America, becoming our modern-day jack-o'-lanterns. Then Christianity spread into the Celtic regions, and along with it came a new calendar of saints and holy days. By the 9th century, November 1st was declared All Saints' Day, also called All Hallows' Day, hallow meaning holy or sacred person. The church often tried to suppress old pagan festivals, but sometimes it blended them instead. Samhain traditions survived under a new Christian layer, candles, remembering the dead, and even some of the imagery of fire and disguise. So Halloween is really this beautiful layer of meanings, Celtic roots, Christian interpretation, and centuries of imagination in between. Trick-or-treating has its roots in Europe, long before it became the door-to-door candy tradition we know today. Trick-or-treat. In Ireland and Scotland during Samhain, children and sometimes adults would go guising, wearing costumes or disguises, and perform songs, recite poems, or tell jokes in exchange for food or coins. God, I wish they still did that. Tell me jokes, and I'll give you all the candy in the world. The disguises were originally to confuse the spirits, but the giving of food and treats became part of the fun. In medieval England, there was a similar practice called souling, where people went door to door on All Saints' Day, offering prayers for the dead in exchange for soul cakes. When Irish and Scottish immigrants came to North America in the 1800s, these customs blended and evolved into trick-or-treating, kids dressing up and receiving candy rather than food or coins from the neighbors. You know, there's always that one kid that jams his hand into that bowl and grabs like all the Snickers and Baby Ruth. Ugh. Trick-or-treating is really a centuries-old mix of honoring spirits, community, sharing, and playful disguise, perfectly in line with the ancient and layered history of Halloween. When I think back to the Halloween back in the 70s, most costumes were familiar, clowns, ghosts, werewolves, and that stuff. But there were also ones that borrowed from other cultures without thought. I cringe when I see the photos of myself dressed as a quote-unquote Indian, and I recognize now that it was completely inappropriate, even if no one questioned it at the time. Still, Halloween itself was so much fun. So those costumes are a reminder that some of the choices from that era would never fly today. And reflecting on it now, we see how important it is to be thoughtful and respectful in our choices for our costumes. We can celebrate creativity without taking from somebody else's history or beliefs. Halloween isn't celebrated the same way everywhere. In Mexico and parts of Latin America, Halloween overlaps with Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. Families honor ancestors with altars, candles, flowers, and offerings of food. If you remember my interview with Violeta del Carmen in episode 3, you might notice or remember some of the same rhythms and imagery here. It's a beautiful reminder that many cultures use this time of year to remember and celebrate those who have passed, rather than just scare each other. It's fascinating how one date on the calendar can mean so many different things, yet still connect us all through imagination, ritual, and the magic of the season. We've ended tonight on a high note, but there's something about Samhain that lingers, isn't there? That thin space between this world and the next. It's beautiful, but unsettling too. Maybe that's exactly the feeling to carry us into one last story. This is an excerpt adapted from an old Celtic folktale, the Tale of Nero, narrated by Jordan Torrey. Let his voice take us there to the other world.
It was the night of Samhain, when the veil between worlds grows thin, and the dead walk the earth once more. In the hall of King Alio, the warriors feasted. Outside, the gallows swayed in the wind, and corpses hung still and silent. Then the king spoke. "Who among you will walk into the darkness and tie a twig around the foot of a dead man?" None answered, save Nera, the bravest of them all. He stepped into the black night, where mists curled low and fires burned blue along the horizon. At the gallows, the dead hung silently until one opened its eyes. "Take me on your back, Nera," it said, "for the night is cold, and I would see my home once more." Trembling, Nera obeyed. He carried the corpse through darkened fields, past hollow trees, and standing stones that whispered his name. The corpse led him to the other world, a place of ruined halls and silver light, where spirits walked as though alive, yet were neither fully dead nor fully living. Nera saw great tables of feasts untouched by time, shadows that danced without bodies, and spectral forms that vanished if he looked directly at them. A voice warned him, "Do not drink, do not touch, do not linger, or you may never return to the living." Despite the fear, he followed the corpse back to the mortal world, emerging as the first pale light of dawn touched the fields. When he returned to King Alil's hall, the people were gone, the hearth cold, and the hall in ruins, as if the night itself had swallowed them. Time had shifted, for he had walked far beyond the veil, and the paths of the living and the roads of the dead had become one. And on that Samhain night, the world felt thin, and Nera knew that the dead had watched, and perhaps still watched, even now.
So until next time, stay curious, get to know each other, and come back to Tradition Café. I really appreciate you. This episode is brought to you by the Fireside Lounge, located at 1453 Webster Street in Alameda, California. It's your spot for craft cocktails, live music, and good vibes. Check out thefiresidelounge.com for what's happening this week. Follow Tradition Café on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen, and connect with us on Facebook and Instagram. Also swing by traditioncafe.com for more stories, culture, and behind-the-scenes fun. I'm Anna Xavier, and until next time, keep sipping your coffee and raising a cocktail. Let the stories inspire you, and we'll see you at the next episode of Tradition Café. Thanks for listening.